Hey there, it's me Jamie and welcome back to another video. So today I'm just going to be doing my April wrap-up for you. I actually read 8 books in the month of April, which is actually nearly half the amount that I've read in this entire year, so I think that's pretty good. I've definitely gotten back into like a reading mood, especially now that I have so much time on my hands. But yeah, we all know how a wrap-up works, so I thought I would just get started. So the first book I read in April was a book called The Waiter by Matthias Feldbakken, and this is a Norwegian fiction book. That's really all I can say. Maybe historical fiction? Wait, no, it's not even historical fiction. I forgot that fact. It's not historical fiction, it's just a random ass fiction book. I really should have looked at the average rating before purchasing this book on Goodreads because I ended up giving it 1 star. And it's probably one of the worst books I've read all year. So the premise of this book is it's about our main narrator called The Waiter. He doesn't have a name. He refers to himself as The Waiter. And it's set in this busy high-class restaurant, and the story is just told through his eyes at work every day. That's it. There's literally no other plot. Like, there's no storyline or plotline to drive the book forward. It's literally just this mundane recount of like a day in the life of the waiter, like chapter after chapter. It just felt really weird, really old-fashioned. That's kind of why, like, I expected to go into it and be like, oh cool, this is like this book from like the 1930s, not much happens, but it's like one of those old books that's just kind of like about rich people and, you know, through the eyes of like the working class. It wasn't that at all. They were like using iPhones and stuff, but it was told in a really just out of date way, and it was just not interesting at all. Also, I think maybe this book might have had a chance if there was just something else to back it up, like the writing style. If the writing style was really, really beautiful, and sure, it wasn't a book where much happened, but it was more of a showcase of the writer's craft, then that could have been interesting. But the author literally took no risks when writing this book. There was nothing stylistic or poetic or interesting about the writings. It was just meh. There's also like no humor behind any of it as well. It's just boring. It's a shame because I feel like the concept could have been really interesting. Like perhaps if it was like there was a bigger narrative there and we were hearing it all through the eyes of the waiter, but the narrative was like for these like rich people, sure, that could have been interesting, but there just literally wasn't a narrative. I don't know, I'm pretty sure the author just thought he was JD Salinger for a day and decided to write a story, but I don't know, it's dumb. I want to stop talking about it now. No, do not recommend. The next book I read in April was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. Yes, I know I am very, very late to the game with reading this one. So if anyone who doesn't know, this is a YA fantasy story. It's about a girl called Alina who turns out is a Grisha, which is like a group of magical people in this fantasy world, and she is the sun summoner, and there's no other like it's kind of a chosen one story. Being the sun summoner is like being the chosen one. And so she gets whisked away to the Darkling's castle academy, I don't really know what it is, and she gets taught the way of the Grishas along with a bunch of other Grishas at this school. This was actually really fun. I've heard some bad things about this story, and I've heard that like Six of Crows Crooked Kingdom is like the superior series written by Leigh Bardugo, but I actually had a lot of fun. I do think it is at the end of the day just kind of like derivative young adult fantasy, but I still had a lot of fun, and Leigh Bardugo's way of creating like really interesting characters was excellent. Although I did find Alina as a protagonist quite boring and she's just a bit of a wimp. Like she was just really, really insecure, which is fine because what teenage girl isn't insecure? But I just felt like all she thought about and the only thing we heard about from her for like the first half of the book is like, Mel doesn't like me. The Darkling also doesn't like me because I'm so ugly. And it's just like, I don't want to hear about boys anymore. Like, what about the fact that you are the sun summoner, hun? Like, I can respect a girl thinking about boys all day, but it just kind of got a little tiresome after a little while. But I did love her bravery towards the end of the book and some of the decisions she made. I thought she ended up being a really fun protagonist. She just took a little while to grow on me. I also really liked Mel, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but to be fair, I haven't read the second and third book yet, so that opinion might change. But I liked him, and I also quite liked the Darkling. I thought they were really interesting and fun characters. I thought the world was quite like fresh and unique. And I mean, I say that it's derivative YA fantasy, but also I'm aware that it was published in like 2013, so I do kind of need to give credit where credit's due. I also have read Six of Crows, so I also really liked seeing where Leigh Bardugo's writing style kind of came from. Like the drastic difference between her writing style in Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows is just, it's incredible. So I just really liked that as well. But I mean, it's fun. I really like learning about this world, so I'm definitely gonna read the next 2 books in the series, and then I'm gonna pick up Six of Crows and reread it again, and then finish off with Crooked Kingdom, because I just really enjoyed it. It's obviously not perfect, but it was a fun ride, so yeah. Shadow and Bone. The next book I read was The Lying Game by Ruth Ware, and I rated this one 2 out of 5 stars. It is an adult thriller, and it's about this girl called Isa, and she went to boarding school in this like small town when she was a teenager, and she made these friends, these 3 other girls, and then something really awful happened to them when they were at boarding school, and then they forgot about it, and then 10 years later they come back together because like the problem is resurfacing, and it's all very mysterious and all that sort of stuff. I thought this book was kind of really boring, and the pace was so weird. Like the mystery kind of becomes uncovered, and like we find out what these girls did all those years ago, like halfway through the book. And in the last half of the book, it's just like she's just going to and from her husband and her child to like this old town. I don't know, it really didn't interest me, and the characters were just so boring and so unlikable, and there wasn't really a sense of mystery about it. Like I felt like everything was very predictable. It was also kind of told in dual timelines. Like we got some glimpses of their life at the boarding school and the trouble they got up to, but I felt like that whole storyline was super rushed and super underdeveloped, and that was the stuff that I found the most interesting, because I mean I love dark academia, I love like boarding school settings, so I thought that that could have possibly been like a little bit more fleshed out, and could have also like made the pacing a little bit better and given you more to work with in the beginning of the book. But unfortunately it was just so underdeveloped, and most of the stuff that we got was just our main character as an adult just being like, I've changed, and it was just boring to me. This is also a super personal issue, so maybe if you feel the same as me, then this might be a comfort to you, but I have like severe anxiety when it comes to like small children and babies like in danger. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but it just really sends my anxiety skyrocketing. The main character has like a newborn baby, and she is constantly referring to like what might happen if she like crosses this bridge with her baby and she accidentally drops it, or what might happen if a dog comes and like eats her baby. Like she's just constantly thinking about all the dangers that her baby could be in, and reading that I was just like, I'm so uncomfortable. Again, it's a super personal issue, but it just set me on edge the entire time, and also it ended up becoming incredibly repetitive. So not only was I extremely uncomfortable, whenever it happened like every few pages, so not the best for me. It was also just so obvious that like something was going to happen to the child, so not very good foreshadowing if it's just shoved in your face like the entire book. I do want to read more by this author because I've heard that The Turn of the Key is really good, but I just think this book was probably not the right place to start because I just didn't enjoy it at all, and I feel like it doesn't have that many good reviews on Goodreads. I need to start checking Goodreads before I read my books more, I think, because I've played myself this month. The next book I read was one that I really enjoyed, and that is The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. This is actually a romance book which I have started to fall in love with. I've started to love romances, but it's about a Vietnamese girl, and she's a cleaner. She's really poor. She has a child back home in Vietnam, and she meets this like rich Vietnamese woman who in a bathroom that she's randomly cleaning, and the rich woman is like, I'm looking for a bride for my son. He's really standoffish, he doesn't really like women, you'd be the perfect bride. And so she takes her to America to try and just like have this kind of arranged marriage with her son, and the son actually has Asperger's. So it's just this really beautiful love story about not only his relationship with his mother and with his family, but about him opening up to this girl. And he's also never really been in love before, so it's also like very much like a first love kind of story. And also we hear about the trials that our main female character goes through, because, you know, she's so poor, she's supporting her family, and she really wants to get some opportunities in America. She also has a storyline where she tries to go to college, and it's just the character development of this main character is so beautiful. I loved it so much. Also, this book is actually own voices for both the Vietnamese rep and the Asperger's rep. Helen Hoang actually does have Asperger's syndrome, so she is very much own voices for our main male character Kai, and also for Esme, which is our female main character. The writing style was just so good. Like, it was just really fun, but also so heart-wrenching, and Helen Hoang just did such a good job at creating these really fleshed out characters. I honestly have nothing but praise for this. I rated it 4 stars, but honestly it probably should be 5. It was just really good. these characters were just amazing, and obviously the representation was done amazingly because it's own voices. So loved this book. I have nothing else to say, but I will be reading The Kiss Quotient very soon. If you did watch my Asian readathon TBR, you will see that soon because I'm so excited to read The Kiss Quotient. Oh my god. The next book I read in April is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is obviously a reread. I read this for the 24-hour Harry Potter readathon that I did with Books with Chloe. It was hosted by Books with Chloe, but me and Caitlin did our own 24-hour readathons as well. We did a live show, so I will link all the videos that we did down below. So I'll link Chloe's vlog, I'll link Caitlin's vlog, and the live show. I obviously rated this 5 stars, but I am not going to talk about it here because I talked about it so much in my vlog, and also we talked about it heaps in the live show. So if you want to hear more about my thoughts on this, then you can go to those videos, but I mean, it's pretty obvious what my thoughts on this are going to be. Amazing. Then the next book I read in April was Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills, which is a YA contemporary. It's about a girl called Claudia who accidentally witnesses the breakup of the ed couple at her school, Iris and Paige, and then she gets into this uncomfortable situation where she gets partnered with Iris for a school project. They end up failing, and their punishment is that they have to audition for the school's production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which they do with the boys' school next door. I rated this book 3 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, but I just had quite a few problems with it, like weird problems, but there was a lot to love about it as well. I don't know, I guess I'm really picky with contemporaries because it's probably my favorite genre, or the genre I read the most. I think all the characters in this book were really well fleshed out and really believable. I think even characters that had maybe 20 pages of on-page time, you knew them, you knew what they were about. So I thought that Emma Mills's attempt at creating really fleshed out characters was achieved 100%, really good. I also really liked Iris, even though she was really horrible at the beginning and I could kind of see why everyone hated her. I really liked the way she was written. There's also a really cute storyline about Claudia and Iris bonding over a boy band, which just reminded me so much of my friendship with people who like BTS. So that I felt so represented. Oh my god, it was just so realistic. And I think Emma Mills knows fandom culture so well, especially when it comes to music groups and stuff. One of the main things I guess that annoyed me was the romantic plot between Claudia and the romantic interest Gideon. I felt like there were so many, I just felt it was so obvious that they both liked each other, and Gideon was making it so clear to Claudia that he was interested, he wanted to take her on a date, but she was just pushing him away. And then the next chapter she'd be like, I'm so unhappy because I really like Gideon, but I don't know, I keep pushing him away. And it's like, you're making yourself upset, girl. Please, use your brain. You know how to be happier. You know what will make you feel better. That was just frustrating to read about as an adult, but I guess it might be realistic to teenagers. I don't really remember ever doing that, but again, the world doesn't revolve around me. But I did think Emma Mills was really good at writing funny dialogue, and I really liked her characters, so she's definitely an author I'm going to pick up again. I also really like books that kind of feature Shakespeare, so the fact that it featured Midsummer Night's Dream so heavily was so fun. And yeah, I think I'm going to pick up Famous in a Small Town next, but if you have any others to recommend, please do. But I'm very excited to read more. But yeah, I think this 3 stars is still a really good rating for me. It's just not it didn't blow me away, but I still had lots of good things to say about it. The next book I read in April was Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I read this one for the Bad Bitch Book Club. So by the time you're seeing this, I believe the live show would already be up. So I will link the live show down below. So if you do want to hear more of my thoughts about this one, you can go down below and watch that. So I won't talk about this one too much, but I will just say it's a really good YA urban fantasy set in modern day Seoul about a gumiho. Our main character, Mi Young, she is a gumiho, which is a 9-tailed fox. She's half gumiho, half human. And then it's also a romance between her and our main character, Ji-hoon, and it's just really beautiful, really lovely. And go watch the live show if you want to hear more. And the last book I read in April is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This one's a really hard book to talk about, I think. I liked it, but at the same time, I was slightly underwhelmed. I fell in love with Little Fires Everywhere, which is Celeste Ng's sophomore novel. This is her debut, and so because of how blown away I was at her writing style, the first time I read her, I was kind of expecting the same. And I did still get that beautiful prose. She's so amazing at writing just really engaging stories, but unfortunately her characters were just abhorrent in this book. Like, I just could not stand them. I haven't even explained what this is about. Okay, so this book is a contemporary set in like middle America. It's about a Chinese American family, and unfortunately they lose their eldest daughter, their middle child. They lose her, she drowns in the lake, and basically it's just the aftermath of them. It's kind of dual timeline though, like we get to see the very beginning of like the parents meeting for the first time. That's kind of when they're the most likable, even though I still don't really find them that likable at all. And then we learn more about like what happened when the children were growing up. We learn about why Lydia, the girl that died, why she kind of becomes like the favorite child. And then we also see the aftermath of her death. It's just really horrible because like it's basically a story about favoritism and like parenting, but favoritism is just so awful. So reading the perspective from the kids and like seeing like for example the boy, like the brother, the eldest brother, reading his story felt really depressing because it was just like, oh, your life sucks. Like, that's so shit. And you just got so mad at the parents, especially the dad. I hated the dad so much. Oh my god. I am honestly trying to dissect this book right here right now really badly. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I think it had some really, really important discussions. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I might cut half of what I said out, but yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not smart enough to discuss it. Like, I understand it completely, but I'm just not smart enough to discuss it. But I enjoyed it. But I think maybe read Little Fires Everywhere instead, because that had all the writing style, all of the important topics with really charming characters as well, so yeah. Hello, I am interrupting your regularly scheduled programming to say that in between the time that I filmed this video and the last day of April, I actually read a 9th book, and that is The Right Swipe by Alicia Ray, and I thought I would quickly talk about it right now. The Right Swipe is an adult romance book between a black woman called Rhiannon and a Samoan ex-sports star called Samson. Rhiannon is the CEO and the creator of a really popular dating app called Crush, and Samson is the newly appointed like marketing manager or face of an old kind of like classic but kind of dying out romantic dating site called Matchmaker. And Rhiannon and Samson have a night one night, and then he ends up ghosting her accidentally because he ends up having a family emergency, and she has a very strict policy where she only sleeps with people once. And so because she has given him this second chance and this opportunity to like meet up again and see each other again, she is feeling incredibly betrayed. So when she decides that she wants to buy Matchmaker, she ends up having to do a lot of dealings with him, and then a romance blossoms. It's kind of, I won't say enemies, but it's kind of hate to love. I really, really enjoyed this book. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the diversity in this was incredible, and I thought actually the storyline as well was really, really nice, because while yes, it was very much about the romantic relationship that blossoms, and because it's literally a romance book, I really found the story of Rhiannon's character development and her overcoming her past abusive relationship and like becoming this really, really like amazing, powerful, big shot CEO. I found that really inspiring and really interesting. I found Samson's personal individual storyline to be slightly less interesting, but Rhiannon's, I was like, yes, I'm here for it. I also really liked this main character, Rhiannon, because she was a very sex positive woman. She had really very strict guidelines in order to protect her heart, but she had sex quite often, and she was very open about the fact that she had one night stands, and you know, she enjoyed that aspect of life. And I thought that was really great, because a lot of the romance books that I have read, they've never really had very sexually experienced female leads, so, or at least ones that were so open about it. So I did really appreciate that, and it was something really refreshing and new for me personally. I know it's probably not new to the genre, but it was like nice and new to me. The beginning was kind of slow because we were definitely getting a lot more backstory, and so Samson and Rhiannon didn't actually have a proper like meet-up date sort of thing until after the first 100 pages. But I kind of really liked that because, like I said, I really liked the other individual storylines rather than the storyline of their relationship developing. I also thought the sexually explicit scenes and the smut were well written. They were fun. They weren't like, I've read some really bad smut recently, so I really appreciated some well-written smut, and it wasn't super cringy or anything like that. I really liked this book. It was a pretty fluffy romance story, even though it does deal with a past relationship that had a lot of harassment and emotional abuse. But apart from that aspect, it was really, really fluffy and light, and I just really, really enjoyed it. And if you, honestly, if you are a beginner to the romance genre, much like I am, I would definitely recommend this book. It's just really, really fun. Nothing but good things to say about it. So that is everything I read in April. Thank you so much for watching if you watched this. I haven't done a proper wrap up in ages, so it's been really interesting, and hopefully I have some good videos coming for you soon, so stay tuned. And again, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below, and I'll see you in another video.